calling all powerlifters, Instagram clout chasers, and people that just want to get really strong legs and glutes in general. Today, I'm gonna learn y'all how I teach the Sumo Deadlift. For returning viewers, I appreciate you coming back. And for new viewers, thank you for stopping by. My name's Gabe. I train people looking to gain strength, get buff, and or get better at calisthenics. And I try to help people have fun doing it too. Today's agenda. First, we're gonna go over setup, grip, bracing, slack pull, and then execution of the lift. Grab a notebook, class is now in session. So, for your setup, we are gonna go over stance width, foot and knee angle, grip width, shoulder positioning, and hip height. For the setup, I like to teach most people to build their deadlift from the feet up. So, a decent start for most people, and to avoid having an absolutely diabolical, wide, super, giga split sumo, try setting your shins to the smooth rings. That's about where you want your feet to be. You can adjust this over time, but I think this is a good place to start. Now, as for your foot and knee angle, I like to set my feet pointing out about 20 to 30 degrees. I don't get my protractor, I just estimate it. And you're gonna want your knees pointing in the same direction that your toes are. So, whenever you're trying to learn and experiment with the Sumo Deadlift, I want you to try recording from the side for a couple reasons. When you're watching yourself lift from the side, I want you to see that your shins are mostly vertical. If your knees go a little bit in front of the barbell, that's okay. But if your knees go too far in front of the barbell, you won't be able to get as much power from your posterior chain. Also, you run the risk of your bar bumping into your shins on the way up. Also, from the side view, you want to see your shoulders right above the bar. Not in front, not behind. It's going to feel awkward and inefficient, and it'll probably throw you out of position if your shoulders are anything other than straight above the bar. Now, moving on to your hip height. You don't want your hips so high that you're doing like stiff-legged deadlifts, and you also don't want them so low that you don't have any leverage. If the first thing that happens whenever you start the lift is that your hips feel like they need to rise, or it just feels impossible to generate any force, your hips might be too low. Now, moving on, it is time for you to get a grip. So, you got two options. You could do mixed grip, or you could do hook grip. The advantages of mixed grip are that it's easier than hook grip, it's less painful than hook grip, it's faster to learn than hook grip. But I will say the only real downside is that you leave yourself potentially exposed to the windmill effect. And that is whenever you come to the top of the lift, whichever hand is supinated with your palm facing out, you might be prone to spinning in that direction at the top of the lift. The other downside is that whenever you're like finishing out the Sumo Deadlift, whichever hand is facing in, pronated, those fingers might scrape against your quad and your legs might be prying open your hand, not to mention the friction of that making it harder for you to finish out the lift. Moving on to hook grip. What you want to do is stuff your thumb under the bar. You want it to go straight, not sideways. And then you're going to grab on top of that thumb with your middle finger, and you'll be using it as a wedge to keep the bar from rolling out of your hand. So you get to unlock infinite grip strength if you do hook grip. But the downsides, it hurts and takes a long time for a lot of people to learn and actually be good at it. Not to mention your thumbs will hate you, but also you don't get any windmill effect and you don't get any of the leg peeling your hand open. Bracing. One of the most important aspects of any compound lift is bracing well. And I mean bracing throughout your whole core. And there is absolutely more to bracing than just breathing in real deep. So for the front of your core, you do not want to have a puffed out chest. You don't want to flare out your ribs away from your pelvis. You want them tucked down in line with your pelvis instead. And once you've done that, gotten those ribs nice and clamped down, you breathe in through your stomach. I want you pushing against the belt, not just forward, but sideways as well. I feel like everyone's heard and retold the soda can analogy before, but if the soda can is full, it's really hard to compress. But once it's empty and you've drank all of it, don't be an empty soda can, be a full soda can. Bracing in your core should be all about generating that intra-abdominal pressure, pushing outward, so that you don't become a crushed soda can whenever you deadlift or squat. And now for the back, I want you tucking your lats down and tensing those spinal erectors as well. Pro tip, if you're having a hard time figuring out what it feels like and what it means to keep your ribs like clamped down and not flared, try doing some bird dogs before your next deadlift session. Also, you need to brace with your lats as well. They're important for stabilizing the spine, keeping your spine and the bar in a good position, and they also help keep the bar from drifting out in front of you. Some good cues for this are to pinch your armpits shut like the tickle monster's trying to get you, and to pull the bar into your shins. Another component of your deadlift warm-up could be straight bar pull downs to practice this motion, the motion of you pulling the bar inwards towards your shins. Do not
sell marijuana to my husband.
Okay. Do not pull your shoulders back. Drawing your shoulders back like this increases the range of motion for your deadlift. And we do sumo because we like doing things the easy way. Now moving on to a controversial topic. Back rounding. The rounding of your back. You definitely do not want lower back rounding when you deadlift, especially not progressively where it rounds more over the course of the lift. That's a one-way ticket to Snap City. It may look like some high-level deadlifters do have some lower back rounding whenever they deadlift, but that's probably because their erectors are just really developed. And when your erectors are developed and protruding, they're a little round. Moving on, pulling the slack out of the bar. You hear a lot of people talk about it, but this can be confusing for some people. The easiest way for me to explain it is this. Once you have a hold of the bar, pull your chest away from it while keeping your arms elongated. The goal is to feel the top of the barbell click against the top of the weight plates prior to you sending it and committing to the lift. Now, if you use a dynamic hip start like I do, you want to make sure that you hold on to that pulled slack. Don't let it go when you're moving your hips. Now, most beginners will probably find it easier to be consistent with a static rather than a dynamic hip start, but it can be useful to learn over time. You set your feet in the right position, you reach down to grab the bar, you pull that slack real good, then you lift. Final part, execution. People call the deadlift a pull, but it's a push and a pull. You push down off the floor first, and then you go into hip extension. The first part, pushing off the floor, it's kind of like a leg press. You want to pretty much maintain your hip angle as you're pushing vertically into the floor, and you want to do your best to stay as upright as possible so you have good leverage to finish it in the next part. Remember to be patient and do not rush. It's supposed to feel hard off the floor. Maintain your position above all else. Rising hips is not what we want. After getting it off the floor, the next part is all about hip extension. So getting into this hip extension, that happens pretty much whenever the bar clears your knees. Whenever the bar clears your knees, don't try to lock your knees too early relative to your hips. But it's okay if your knees lock out just a hair before you finish with a hip extension. Do not lose back tension while you're finishing the lift. You want to keep your armpits shut at the top. Don't shrug or anything. Don't push your hips through too much. Doing that too much and leaning back can cause you to have soft knees at lockout. And finally, don't drop the bar from the top. My humble, personal, educated opinion is that it makes you look like a tool whenever you do it. Respect your gym equipment. It's that simple. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and save the video if you got any value out of it. If you need more specific help, drop a comment. And also my Instagram is in the description. If you want a form review, just send me a DM. I'm also way more active on Instagram. I'm on a mission to clean up the dumpster fire that is the online fitness community and provide some real value to people and help them get stronger. Subscribe if you want to join me on that journey and get stronger yourself in the process. Until next time, this is Guerilla Strength. Peace.